I don't know if you can hear my cat in the background, but if you do, I'm sorry.
That's good. We need some background music, right? Yeah, we need some background noise.
I've started recording. I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. You record then, because then I'm not recording. Okay. Okay. Here we go.
All right.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Why I'm not coming on this screen now? Why it's not making me the hold on.
No, it's showing you.
Hello. I'm not coming on the main screen, so.
I can see you.
Yeah, I can see you too.
I know you can see me, but okay. Assalamu alaikum. This is Nizzy, and I'm here on behalf of May Initiative. May stand for Muslim American Youth, and we are here for a very special occasion. Today we are celebrating Women's International Day. And we thought, what would be a better thing to do than to invite some of our very successful young professionals and have them share their stories with us. Because we know it's just hard being a woman. Not only that, but we're just too hard on ourselves. So it's good to listen to other people and see that we are not alone. There are other people who have walked into our shoes. And it's good to just learn from each other and lift each other up. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and ask my young professionals to go ahead and introduce themselves to us. So we're going to start with Sanya. Go ahead, Sanya.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. I am kind of grew up next door to Nizzy Auntie, so we are in the neighborhood, in the hood together. And she is like literally my favorite auntie in the whole world, because I have never seen someone promote feminism the way I've seen her do and the way I've seen her raise her daughters. So a little bit about me is that I am a small business owner. I own businesses with my family and help manage those. And on the side, I am a storyteller on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. So I talk about family and life, and I talk about topics that maybe, you know, people might be afraid to talk about. I'm a very much an open book on social media, and that has been a very interesting experience being a woman and doing. And so that is at Sanya Khilji on pretty much all social medias. And beyond that, I'm a wife, been married for a little bit over 5 years now, and a mom to one very, very cute little crazy girl. So that is a little.
Thank you so much. Now, Mahi, tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Mahi. So I actually grew up in New Orleans and I moved to Houston. I came to college here at Rice. I studied architecture, and now I'm a practicing architect in the city as well. I've been working for about 7 years now. And I mostly work on like designing and the drawings for education work. So like a lot of schools. And then I really like to, like in my free time, work on stuff that like on diversity and inclusion. So I'm part of an organization called Women in Architecture, and I also do a lot of sustainable design, both in the office and advocacy for it outside. Yeah, I'm super excited about this.
Okay, Summer, tell us about yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. I'm Summer. I graduated from UT a couple years ago with a degree in English. But after graduating, I found myself in this digital marketing and social media world. About 6 months ago, I launched my own agency, social media and digital marketing agency called Summertime Media. So I'm just here to, I guess, learn from professionals who have a bit more experience than me on how they manage their careers and being a woman, especially a woman of color, and just balancing everything.
Awesome. Good to have you up here. Nimra, tell us about yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Well, first of all, thank you for hosting this, Nizzy Auntie. I'm so excited to be here. A little bit about me. Well, I am currently working as a clinical research coordinator at Baylor College of Medicine with the Department of Gastroenterology. And I'm also pursuing my master's degree in healthcare management from the UT Health School of Public Health. And I'm expecting to graduate in May, which I'm so excited about. As I'm an early careerist, I'm really excited to hear from the other professionals in this group and just to gain some insight on how to navigate the career world as a woman and especially as a Desi woman.
Lovely, very nice. Okay, so Alina.
Hello, I'm Alina. I'm in my third year at Rice University. I'm majoring in kinesiology, and I'm pre-med, so I'm about to start applying to, or pre-dent, so I'm about to start applying to dental school soon.
You can if you do.
Good, awesome to have you. Okay, Rabia, tell us about yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Rabia. I'm currently a business student at UT Austin.
Awesome, awesome. So as you can see, we have an amazing set of young people up here who are willing to answer some questions, talk to each other, and learn from each other. And in the process, they're going to keep us informed and we are going to learn from them and just feel proud of how far they have come. So I am going to go ahead and ask Nimra to go ahead and ask her first question. So before Nimra does that, let me just say that the format of this is going to be that some of our young professionals are going to ask questions from some of the professionals who have been working in the field for about 4 to 5 years. And then anybody can chime in and talk about their experiences and if they have something to connect with their story. So go ahead, Nimra.
Okay, so one piece of advice I've been given by a lot of people in my career is about the importance of social networking. And so the question that I wanted to ask of the young professionals here is if you could share some strategies of social networking that you have utilized and how that has helped connect you to different opportunities in your career path.
Mahi, go ahead. You want to take this?
Yeah, I can jump on that. Yeah, I would say social networking is very important. I'm pretty lucky that I'm part of a really big firm. Like we're about 200 people in Houston. So they host a lot of events on their own and invite other industry professionals to it. One thing I really recommend is like try to find out what you're passionate about and find a way that you can support that. Like find an organization that's like a nonprofit that you really care about, that you can volunteer, like be on the board of. And that's how you get to meet a lot of people. Same with, I think everyone that you went to college with, keep in touch with them if you're in town, even if they're not in the same like profession as you. If they have a happy hour, if they have an event come up, like, you know, don't be shy to go and just meet people. It really, I feel like sometimes I've met people who aren't necessarily in architecture that I've been like, oh, this ties into this other thing that I'm working on. That'd be great to get your input.
Oh, that is an amazing advice because, you know, I think the key is always just meeting people. Don't be shy. Just become an expert in making small talks and always approach people and talk to them. You never know which one will your
I'm like a self-professed introvert and I was very quiet, and you just have to go in to those types of events realizing that everyone else feels the same way.
True, and they do. You know, it's just that nobody talks about it, but everybody's always afraid to talk to a new person, but just go and do it. That's the key to it. Sanya, what do you say?
So for me, I'm very extroverted, so I'm on the opposite extreme of that. I'm like too extroverted for my own. And one thing that I found is when I would go to social like networking events, I would get really bored because it was so like inauthentic. People would just like stuff their business card into your hand, get yours, and just like walk and spam you for the rest of your life in your email. And that became really frustrating to me. So I began to network in a different way, which has been really useful, you know, given the pandemic and everything, which is that I just network through social media. And I interview whoever I want to talk to. I'm like, hey, can I interview you for my social media? literally anybody. I have messaged some of the biggest people in the world. Like there's an author, Pat Flynn, that I recently interviewed, or a very famous marketer, Neil Patel, that I interviewed. And I was like, hey, I just started this podcast or this YouTube channel. Can I interview you? They said yes, which is crazy. Like they're looking ocean too. So, so I just message whoever I want to talk to, and I'm on social media. I just DM people all day, every day. I'm like, I'm a expert in talking to strangers and making friends with people.
Good. Yes, and I think, you know, what you're saying, Sanya, is initiative counts. You always initiate something that you think that other people would bring to you. You just take the risk and initiate that. So yes, that was something to, you know, remember. Okay, so now we will go to our next question, and that is from Rabia. Go ahead, Rabia.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask the young professionals, how do you survive in the corporate world as a woman? And what do you think some of the hurdles are?
So what do you think, Sanya? You want to take this first?
The only corporate experience I've had is when I did an internship, and I just went straight to the top. I went to the president of the company, and I was like, I want to work next to you. And it worked.
Wow.
And he was like, okay, sure, you can be like my partner. And I was like, okay, great, let's go from there. So again, it's just, that was my only corporate experience. Ever since that, I became a business owner. And so just again, it's going to mirror what I just said, is don't be afraid to, don't hide, like just go straight to the person you want to talk to and talk to them. No one's too big, right? If you want to talk to Elon Musk, go talk to Elon Musk. His email's out there. Don't be afraid to talk to anyone, because people appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Mahi, what do you say?
I wasn't as proactive as going up to like the top of the top, but I was very conscious that when I interviewed multiple times. Like to get into this firm, there was multi interviews each of the way. I tried to, you know, try to gravitate towards the person I knew I wanted to be working with. And I gravitated towards women and mothers because I've had a really positive experience having mothers who are project managers, because they have a hard boundary and they have better time management. And I feel like I've been able to have a better work-life balance. And the best thing about being a woman is having other women and having really great relationships with them. So I've been really lucky to have mentors above me who are like upper level women who've had to deal with worse things because they don't have someone above them that they can go to. So they've been really great in providing support, advocating for me for promotions and everything. And if I say I try to meet with them once or twice a year, probably more than that, I think, but because we also have lunches, try to do it informal. And I make sure to ask for stuff that I'm interested in so that when they find an opportunity, they'll be like, oh, hey, Mahi wants to do this, get her in there. And I feel like one thing that I deal with is I work in the construction industry. Everyone who works in the construction industry on the build side is a man. I go into a construction site, I'm the only woman in a room of 15 people. And if there's another woman, I'm the only woman of color. So there's a lot of pressure that comes with that because you take less risks, you speak up more. It's just natural that that's how that works. And the way that I found around that is you just try to get to know people and what their intention is, what they really want. And I realized from getting to know my contractors who were men that they're there 5 a.m. They just want to go home to their families, to their kids. All they care about is getting their schedule done on time. They're not going to be like, if I come in and I say maybe the wrong thing, they're not going to be like, this is why women shouldn't have rights. So like it helps to really get to know the people that you're working with, and it helps remove some of those barriers.
True. And communication is the key in that, right? That's where we're saying that just approach people, whatever you have on your mind, just go and tell them, because until you communicate, people won't know. Great advice. Okay. So our next question is from Summer. Go ahead, Summer.
So I have kind of a two-part question, and being someone who's like an entrepreneur, someone who just started her own business, I'm kind of just wondering, do you find it better to work for like one major company, or is it better to freelance your skills to multiple clients, whether that be in social media or in architecture or any field? And with that, when you are striving to gain a client, how do you show that potential client to like pick you and to hire you for your services?
Tanya, you want to take that first?
Yeah, so before my daughter was born, I did run a freelance marketing agency. I have converted it now that Lily's born into more of just a content creation company versus doing social media work, just because it was something I was doing on the side, and I wanted to make sure, I don't have less time now, with my daughter and stuff. So I did have to pursue, that whole everything, like getting clients, showing social proof, bringing them on board, all of that. I did have to do. So the first question was, is it better to work for one major company or to work with different different companies? I feel like the answer is a mix of both, almost like an 80-20 with this, because what you want to do is make sure that you do have larger clients that will pay those like higher ticket bills and that reoccurring revenue. But if you put all of your eggs in one basket, well, if anything happens to that company, well, you're basically, laid off essentially, like you don't have an income after that. So I tend to work with like several different smaller companies and maybe one or two larger ones. And the way that you get them to essentially pick you, the first is networking. People want to work with people that they know. They are more willing to give you a shot if they get to know you and your personality, versus someone that just has a website that they've seen. And then number two is going to be social proof. Like, what results have you achieved for other people? That's going to be extremely important. And then an intimate understanding of what their problems are and how you can be the solution, because that's selling at the end of the day. You have to know how to sell. And so I think one of the biggest issues that people make when they're just starting a business is they're just like kind of desperately meeting people, not getting the time to really know people, just trying to grab business everywhere. And they're not getting the time to really know what people's problems are. They don't really have any social proof. They're letting people know, hey, I'm new to this. Well, don't tell people you're new to this. And all of that, like, show your social proof, be like, hey, I've been doing it for this many years. These are some of the results I've achieved, XYZ. And hopefully you'll be able to grow from there. It's what I did, and you should be just fine following that framework.
True, very good. Mahi, do you have something to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking working for one company, meaning working for one client versus working for multiple clients. I've only ever worked full-time for one company, but I've always had multiple clients. Like, I think a lot of what Sania said, there's just more security with that, as far as, we just went through a pandemic. One client goes on hold, that's, eggs basket, the deal. I will say that if you have multiple projects with one client, that's really great, because you really get to shine that way and you get to build a lot of trust that way. The trust is really, really important for client relationships, for getting new ones, and for continuing. Some of our biggest projects that we've gotten are from existing clients. The best thing you can do is, show up and, have your be on top of your game. As far as getting new clients, it's always good to market yourself as an expert, even if you might not feel that way yourself. Women are like notorious for selling themselves short. And something that really helped me was that I tried to find conferences, and I realized that I would go to conferences and I would see these speakers. I was like, oh my gosh, these speakers are so great. And I didn't realize until I applied to speak at one that it's actually pretty easy to like put in an application, because a lot of stuff you're interested about talking about, even if it's stuff you researched and not necessarily worked on a client for, other people want to hear it too. So, try looking at ways you can market yourself as an expert that's not necessarily existing work.
I love that. Yes, that is so true. And I love even your cat is actually endorsing all of that.
Yeah, my cat Luna's making the.
Yes, I'm just
Yes.
loving the background sounds and the little bit of that shadow right behind you or in front of you. Okay, so our next question is going to be from Nimra again.
Yeah. So asking the young professionals in our group if you could share some of the most crucial practices and some of the best practices or steps that have helped you find success in your career.
Communication skills. It's so cliche, but
Mhm.
it's so important. You have to be able to talk to someone, find a common goal, because the best way to have a good end result is if you have a shared goal that you're working towards. It's also good communication is also important when there's conflict. There's a book I highly recommend called Crucial Conversations. It's great not just for career, but even like personal relationships. And then I would say something else that's really crucial is healthy boundaries between work and your life, which is getting even harder because we're working from home. So it's important that you set those boundaries and keep to them.
True, and that is again, we keep coming back to communication skills. Take the risk, step out of your comfort zone, and just go talk and present yourself, market yourself. Sonia, what do you say?
So this is gonna be taking a step back. I think, especially growing up as like a Pakistani American female, I think people have this image of success that is super standard. You're married, happily married, have children, you're making good money. Money seems to be very important in our society. XYZ, like showing the material even seems to be quite important in our community, as sad as that sounds. And I think the first step of success is figuring out what that looks like for you. What does success mean for you personally? Like for me, growing up in a family that alhamdulillah had more, I always thought that success was going to be, oh, I have to make $1 million independently. And so I was chasing after money for a while in my 20s, like in the first few years of 20s. And I realized like how little it actually mattered to me once my basic needs were met. And that I didn't necessarily need like really nice things. And that my version of success was actually very dramatically different than what a lot of people look like. Like, I want farm animals. Like, I want a truck. I don't want a Mercedes, things like that. Like, I had to figure out what my version of success looked like. I want to have a legacy. I wanted to build an audience and tell stories. I wanted to do creative work. And so, yes, I do run a business, and obviously money and stuff is a very important metric in that. But then beyond that, in success, I had to really ask myself, okay, what does your perfect life look like? What does your vision for the future look like? And be in a lot of detail about that, and then constantly revise that day after day, month after month, get more and more clear and more diligent about working towards those and ignoring all the noise that came around me from that. So I would say start there. Don't be afraid if your version of success looks dramatically different. Like for me, I want a horse and a donkey. I don't care about a Mercedes Benz or a Porsche. Like that's weird. I get made fun of all the time, but that's my version of happiness. So find what that is for you.
That is so true, Sonia, because we as Pakistani, and I know we parents have it, and we kind of, transfer that into our kids that, money is the goal, but money is not the goal. You have to find out what gives you happiness. And the term happiness is also so relative. Like my definition of happiness could be different from yours. By the way, I love animals too. So I am right there with you. Yes, go for it. And I love that, it's a journey. You graduate from college, you don't find out right away what you want. You're still trying to, make yourself comfortable in the corporate world. But then all of a sudden you find out, no, my definition of happiness or my goal in life is different. But that is a journey, and you have to find the path that will get you there. Okay, so our next question is going to be from Summer.
So as someone who has, a lot of goals and really big dreams, I've struggled to kind of create a realistic 5-year or 10-year plan. So I was just wondering, how do you, or what steps do you take to develop that 5-year plan? And then how do you implement it in your day-to-day life to make sure you are able to achieve your goals?
I'm on mute because my cat's being super needy, but yeah, I can answer that. I would say I've never had a true 5-year plan. I know 5 is like an easy number, but it is kind of arbitrary. And I felt like when I reached 5 years of experience, there was a lot of like, I felt like I should be further along than I actually was. So I tried to make my goals more vague as far as what I wanted big picture and long term, and more specific for what I wanted to achieve in about a year time. And what I would do is for my year goals, I would set small achievable goals, and I would make sure I had mentors, and I highly stress having more than one mentor so you have different perspectives. I would be checking in on those achievable goals and, saying, hey, I've made this progress, here's where I need support, am I, these are the exams that I'm taking so I can have this certification. Is this going to bring value? And then for my long-term one, that's the one that I look at probably every 2-3 years. And what that can look like for someone is, I want to be promoted at this time. Why do I want to be promoted? I want to be in a position where I'm doing more business marketing, where I'm mentoring someone, where I'm growing them. And I make sure that whatever long-term goals I set, it's not just professional, that I first look at what I want out of my private life. I always start there, what I want outside of work, because, work is just one part of a fulfilling life. And especially if you're a woman, especially if you want to have a family, it should work well together.
That is true. That is true. Sanya, what do you add to that?
So I can start by kind of sharing what my 5-year plan looks like, because I feel like she's on a very similar path to what I've done. I started off trying to do exactly what you did, which was, working freelance clients for social media marketing and digital marketing. That can burn a person out very quickly. A lot of digital marketing agencies will tell you that they get burnt out from just the amount of work and expectations involved, because essentially the marketing is what brings all of your money in. And anytime something starts to go wrong in people's business, they blame marketing and sales. Hey, you should be working harder, XYZ. So just being mindful of that. That is what I found within 5 years. If you had asked me 5 years ago, I would have said, oh, scale my agency to 7 figures, XYZ. So again, for me, things have really changed now. Now, especially, I think the biggest change came for me once I had my daughter. Like, my whole entire world changed. Like, when I say change, not just a tiny little bit, like my entire identity changed. And as workaholic as I was, I used to like just always workaholic. You can ask everyone that knows me now, taking such a big step back, because that little girl is like my entire center of my universe now. And so balance has become more critical. So in trying to develop 5 or 10-year plans, again, be flexible enough to accept when something doesn't feel right or when you have to make changes. And also, I guess, start to think ahead of time about major life changes. Like, what do you want to be doing once you're married, or when you're a wife, or if you have multiple children, what does that look like for you? So my 5-year plan now is just to just do what I love and get paid decently for it. I love social media marketing as well. And I'm building my personal brand now. I am a storyteller. I talk about all topics from motherhood to marriage to mental health, working, start being an entrepreneur, being a woman, being a Muslim. And I want to scale that. I want to have, multiple millions of followers. I want to be an influencer that's known, like one of the biggest influencers in this subject area. So that's what it looks like for me. And I've got some metrics. So you want to attach some numbers with all of your goals, right? Because if you can't measure it, then you can't keep yourself accountable. And then you have to set up daily practices that will actually get you there. Like, okay, if I want to do XYZ, what am I going to do daily or weekly to get there? So I don't actually really even stress too much about the 5 year. Once I have that vision, then I really, just like I think Mahi said, I scale it back and I start to think, okay, short term, week by week, what do I got to do? Day by day. I have on my phone saved, okay, what do I got to do every single day to make this goal happen? And I work on my business about 5-6 hours a day, and then I work on my social media stuff 3-4 hours a day, and then I'm a mom and a wife outside of that, and I have actual, like, you know, a list of things that I got to hit every day. So again, meditate, get that vision, be flexible with that vision, and then scale it back to that short term, week by week or year by year, month by month. What do you have to do, and hold yourself accountable? Maybe get a mentor or an accountability coach to keep you there. And yeah, it's a long subject.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
I'm glad that, you know, you took your time to explain that, because those goals are very important. And, you know, when you're starting young, for you, 5 years are like long term. And, but it's good to have short-term goals so that you keep yourself accountable. And then, you know, becoming a mom, I mean, these are things that will happen in your life. And as a woman, we are aware of that, you know, we should be ready to transition into a different role, and that use that role to our advantage. Like Sanya, you're doing, like you on your social media, you talk about being a mom now. So, you know, so any role that we get, we use those roles to our advantages. And I think that's why International Women's Day is so important for us, that women will change roles, but then each time the role is changed, they'll step up to the plate. Okay, so our next question is coming from Rabia.
Yeah, so kind of following up on what Sonia was saying, for the whole panel, how do you guys keep a good work-life balance?
Yeah, so everybody should go around and talk about this. We'll start with Mahi, and then everyone can tell us, you know, how they keep the balance. Go ahead, Mahi.
Yeah, I think I'll just say a disclaimer by saying, you know, I'm single and I live by myself. The only thing I'm responsible for is myself and a cat. So I would
Which
say,
is very
you know,
important. Yeah.
right. So I would say I probably, you know, have a pretty very light load when it comes to my personal life. That being said, like Sonia was saying, I have also been guilty of being a workaholic. You know, I used to, because architecture is also my passion, I would just justify working super late, like all the time. And then I would be doing stuff outside of it all the time. I would get burnt out super fast. And I think what really helped was in my work, asking for help. So, you know, I can't say what that looks like when you're an entrepreneur and self-employed, but for me, that meant going to the person above me and saying, hey, I need some help, you know, see if someone else can spend some hours looking at this with me, see how I can delegate to someone else. Don't ever be afraid to ask for help, to see, you know, it doesn't make you look weak. It makes you a better planner, and it makes you more realistic and a better employee. And then the other thing I would say is you know, really know how you work, what times you work best at. So, you know, when you're most productive, and then work to your own strengths and advantages. For me, I know I need structure. So working for a corporate firm works well for me. Having the structure where I'm working 8:30 to 5:30, it works really well for me. And I would say working from home has been really great for me, because I have found time where I don't have a commute, I don't have to get ready. The whole 8-hour workday is just nonsense. Like, it started as, you know, you have 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest, 8 hours of leisure. No one who works a 40-hour week has 8 hours of leisure. That's just doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. In reality, you're actually spending close to 10 hours of your day dedicated to work. And when you get home, you have to feed yourself, you have to shower, you actually don't have time to yourself. So I think just trying to work as little as possible is really great. And you know, focus on being efficient, not putting your worth of how good you are in your career and how many hours you work.
Yeah, because I think a lot of us are I mean, I would not say ambitious, but we try to do it all. So that's where that stems from. Uh, Not trying to limit ourselves and delegate work. Okay, so Sanya, what do you say?
So for me, I do have, you know, 3 businesses that I manage, then a 4th side hustle. I've got a daughter, my husband, and a whole farm of animals to take care of. So my plate is very full, very full. And I feel like I'm always working, always. If I'm not working on my business, I'm working on my side hustle. And so I'm probably the worst person in the world to ask this question to. And so I'm just going to be open about that. That is something I struggle with. I don't really have boundaries in between my work and my life because I love what I'm doing so much. Like everything I'm doing on social media is such a joy and such a passion and such an addiction, honestly, that for me, I'm constantly always working. But of course you have to also make sure that it and there are times where I will have to put my phone in a different room and walk away. So there are times where I build up where I leave my phone in a different room and I just go spend time with my daughter for an hour, or I'll leave my phone in a different room and just go on a walk with my husband. I think in nowadays society, devices are synonymous with work. So if you've got your phone on you, you've got your laptop, part of you is always working, right? Especially if you're in your own business, especially there. But even in corporate America, your emails pop up and things of that sort. So take time away from your device, build that time in to get that exercise or just put it to the side. Because if you have it in your hands, I mean, the thing is, if you have like a work phone and a work laptop, that's fine. Then you can keep your device with you. But I found that most of us are constantly using our cell phones and our laptops for work. So put it away, put it aside, build that hour or two in at least a day to make sure you're just getting a breather in. And again, it's something I'm still struggling with. So when I find the answer to this perfectly, I will let you know.
No, but that's good. Just leave your device, and you have to kind of force yourself to do that. Summer, what do you say? As I said, I'm going to ask this question from everybody. Summer, what do you say? How do you keep the balance?
So I'm kind of in the same boat as Sanya, is that I don't keep the balance at all. It's something that I've been working on, and I will continue to work on. So I don't have the perfect answer, but I will say I actually have started doing a similar thing where I leave my devices. I'm a little bit of a workaholic and I will work until I'm burned out. But now I've started, by like 5, 6 o'clock, I'm like, okay, it's getting dark outside. I need to stop working. It's time to like go get some fresh air, and I'll leave my computer, leave my phone, leave my iPad, and I'll go focus on something else. I have developed a lot more hobbies. That's something that I'm grateful for COVID for, because it's forced me to sit at home and find things that I'm actually interested in. And so now when I finish work, I leave all the screens behind and I will go paint. I will go out for a walk. I'll go exercise. I took up embroidery. I read a lot, so I try to push away the screens. Another thing that I've been implementing is, again, like I leave my phone behind at 10 o'clock. My phone's on the charger and I don't touch it. And if I check my emails or something and I see like a work email at like 1 a.m., I have to force myself to not respond at 1 a.m. It's not an emergency. It can wait till the next day. It's not going to harm anyone if it waits like an extra 6, 7, 8 hours. So again, that's something that I'm not perfect at, but that's something I'm working on and will continue to work on.
Yeah, true. And that's very typical. We women, we feel so dedicated and responsible and committed to responding to that email right away. If it was a man or a boy, they'll be like, it will wait. They'll be okay with that. They'll be chill about it. But we have this, even if you don't respond to it, you will have this guilt. So they're like, okay, I might as well respond to that. Okay, so Nimra, what do you say?
Well, actually, I really felt that point that Sanya made about how devices have kind of become synonymous with work, because I actually have also, like, this past week I was visiting family and I had taken some time off work, and I made it a point to leave my phone in my room when I would go and be with my family, because I just had to distance myself. Like I physically had to distance myself from my emails. And I've seriously considered actually removing my work email from my phone, because even if I don't respond to the email right away after work, I've found that it kind of occupies my mind. Like I'll be thinking about it. Oh, like I have to deal with that tomorrow. And then I'm like, it's like 9 o'clock and I'm thinking, okay, I need to make sure I deal with this. Sometimes I've realized that I can work more efficiently if I just focus on one thing at a time instead of worrying about this email. Just, okay, that's tomorrow morning's problem. We will deal with that. It doesn't need to be dealt with right away. But finding that balance has really been a challenge for me, because I think I have this attitude of, if I get an email, I feel very tempted to just respond right away. One question I actually had, kind of based off of Rabia's question in terms of work-life balance, is how do you find friends? How do you find people to socialize with, and just, people that are not necessarily work related, but just like-minded people that you've become friends with? How have you been able to do that in the professional world, or even outside of the professional world?
Yeah, so who wants to take that? Making friends, that's a challenge, right? And it's all about who knows who, right? And then you want to have your core friends that you can have a heart-to-heart conversation and something in common. So who wants to take that question?
I can take it, but I did want to say, I'm pretty lucky that I have a work laptop, but I changed phones last year, right when the pandemic started. I didn't have my work email on my phone. And I remember I had to be like apologetic to people to be like, oh, I don't have my work email, but I secretly liked it. And one person, I remember this so distinctly, 5 years experience more than me, also a woman, said, we were going to a site visit. She told me, hey, can you text me the location in the invite? I don't have my work email on my phone on purpose. And hearing her say that like almost gave me permission to keep doing it. So now I do the same thing. I tell other people I don't have it on purpose, and they feel empowered to keep doing it. For the friends question, I'm pretty lucky in that because I went to college in town here, I have some really good friends that I went to school with that are still in town. A lot of and I won't say a lot, I don't have a lot of friends. I have very few good friends. But friends that I can rely on. They have been friends that I've made through them, and things that they've been involved with. And then I am friendly with some of my coworkers, and it's just because we were similar age, we were on the grind on a project. You bond with someone when you're working towards something together. And then I think just if you are, I say this, but if you are on something, if you are volunteering for it, someone else is doing it, just having that shared connection helps you bond and maybe become friends.
True. That's really a good one that, shared connections help you.
Be really open and vulnerable. Just be like, I would love to be friends with you if you find someone who you find impressive. Just say that. So if someone said that to me, I would love it.
Yeah.
I say that too.
Yeah. Sanya, you want to say something?
I'm very socially awkward, but I'm also.
You don't come off of it that way at all.
Not at all.
No. What I mean is, so I'm very extroverted, so I'm not really that socially awkward, but I have something called borderline personality disorder, which that like relationships can sometimes be really difficult for me. And so the way I make friends is kind of funny. Again, social media. I'm so good at meeting strangers online. And I just, the thing is that I'm very open on social media. Like if you follow my social media, you know every aspect of my life. Like I literally do not hold back on there. And so what ends up happening is that attracts a lot of people because they're like, hey, that you seem like an authentic individual, or I would love to meet up. And I never shy away from meeting up with people who are texting me or messaging me. So I remember I went to Mexico City. I met up someone who was following my social media. We became good friends and he showed me all around the city. Then I went to Seattle and I had someone who was following me on social media. And then they were like, hey, do you want to go to this event? It's being hosted. And I just saw it on social media and we got on this boat and there was like 10 other friends that we made that day. So my life is very spontaneous that way, where by putting myself out there online, I actually meet a lot of people. I do a lot of social networking online. But one really cool thing that I figured out during the pandemic about myself as far as friendships go is I don't do well in group situations. So, you know how when people create like a WhatsApp group and there's like 10 girls in there? I don't like that. It doesn't work for me because there's just so much different energy and so many different dynamics that with my health condition, it does overwhelm me. So this year, I have made a conscious effort to create more one-on-one relationships with people. And if a group forms, great, that's fine. But I'm still going to work and put so much effort into that one-on-one, because what happens with groups is that sometimes you can just start texting the group and you think you're keeping in touch with people, but your relationships are actually very flimsy, because when the group falls apart, so do your relationships. So that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned this year specifically, and I hope that that helps somebody.
Oh, that's a big point. I agree with you. You know, build your relationships one by one. And then, you know, then organically, if you form a group with like-minded people, that's fine. But build that relation one to one. Rabia, what do you say? And then Alina, I'm coming to you. Alina, you've been quiet for a while, so we're coming to you, okay? So Rabia, how do you say about friendships or balance of life, both things?
I think I agree with what Sonia was saying. I think it's so important to be authentic and be confident and be able to like approach people. I think people really do appreciate when you make the first move and you approach them first. And I think it's just like honestly just being confident and being welcoming is like a really good step in trying to make a new friendship. And I think for work-life balance, I think it's so important to, again, what Sonia was saying was prioritize, like just keep up a section of your day. Like even with what Mahi was saying, you should delegate a certain amount of your day every day just to yourself, to your own leisure, to taking care of yourself. And yeah.
Yeah, that's important. Taking care of yourself comes first. Okay, so Alina, we are going to come to you and tell us first, what do you feel about making friends and your balance between studying and life? And then you can go ahead and ask your question too. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm also like pretty introverted, so it's also pretty hard for me to make friends. But I got lucky because Rice has a pretty good MSA, so I found all my closest friends there. So that's been my friend group for the past few years. In terms of like a work-life balance, I'm not the best at it. Like I tend to put way too much on my plate. Like I'm at like maximum credit hours right now. I'm doing research, like all this stuff. So I'm not very good at it, but I do like force myself to schedule in like okay, like once or twice a week I'm gonna go to like my friend's house, and like if I have work I'll do it there, but like at least I'm like in someone else's company, so I'm not like just like overwhelmed that much. So that's how I kind of balance it.
Yeah, yeah. So go ahead. What's your question?
So then my question is, which nonprofit organizations do you guys work for, and how does it benefit your career?
I can do that. So I work with a nonprofit called U.S. Green Building Council, the USGBC, and I've loved like everything I've done with them. I mentioned before, I'm really into sustainable design. I think for anyone, like you go through college, you develop a very like specific skill set. It's regardless of when you decide to do it, it's up to you, but you know, definitely look at a way that you can try to help people. Some people who are already like in the healthcare industry, like they're already helping people. I'm building buildings for people, but with this, for me, it was really important to me that I was like, this is such a huge crisis. Like if I can do anything to educate myself on reducing impact of climate change, I want to be first learning it, sharing it with other people, and find a way to implement it. So that has been fantastic for me as far as having resources, like events that I could go to. It helped me get a credential on my name that helped me, showcase myself to clients. And then the other great thing that it did was we have this thing called Advocacy Day, where we literally go to state representatives once or twice every 2 years in Austin, and we say, hey, we want, you know, Texas to be implementing stricter energy codes, stuff like that. So you know, I've gotten burnt out doing that, but whenever I have some bandwidth, I always find myself going back to that. So like, you
That's
know,
good.
people have said authentic a lot. I feel like, especially if you are someone who's quiet and introverted, finding something that you care about so much that you're willing to speak up about it, you can have a voice that way.
Yeah, and
meet
if you're
people.
passionate about it, you'll be more motivated.
Yeah.
You will have the motivation to go do it, right? Yes. So what do you say, Sanya?
As far as like nonprofits go, I typically just do random acts of kindness versus like put all my energy into one organization. So again, like when you're active in social media, you come across a lot of people, and sometimes people are in need. So I'll help promote various causes, or I'll donate silently and don't share too much about it. But I'm starting to become extremely passionate about like foster care and adoption. And so I started with animals, and I'm fostering my first cat right now in association with Special Pals in Houston. So I'm just going to use this as a shameless opportunity to tell people, if you're looking for a cat, I'm trying to save one's life right now. She's 10 years old, but extremely healthy and very affectionate. And she's such a lab cat, and I can't give her enough attention because I have like so many animals. But she would be a perfect addition to anybody's home. So please let me know. And eventually I would love Nizianti for I have a beautiful, beautiful cat in search of a home right now. So that's one thing. And eventually I want to start helping children in foster care, as well as maybe adopting, inshallah, one day, like my own. Like, when people ask me, like, do you want to have more kids of your own? I say, I'm really happy with one, but there's so many kids that need love. And that is one thing that I am feeling very called to do. So I'm just kind of putting it out there in the universe that, like, inshallah, that happens for me one day, where I'm able to make a difference in a child's life that's not my own. So for now, I'm going to continue to foster animals and maybe foster kids one day, maybe adopt, we'll see. But mine's more personal. I don't really do it for a career. But because my life is very centered around storytelling, it does help when I'm able to do something, work with nonprofits that I can build a story around to help, not talk about, oh, look how good I am, because I don't do that much, but create awareness here, because I'm able to create stories that are really interesting or thought-provoking and things like that. So it does kind of help me, but that's not generally my purpose.
Yeah. No, but you know what? Recently, I've come to know that a lot of Muslim women who are single and not married and in their early 40s, they have started adopting kids and fostering kids. And I think that is such a good thing, because we all want to feel the motherhood and we have passion for kids and animals. So I think adoption, both for kids and we cannot promote this enough, that how much kids need adoption and how many of the animals are neglected and need adoption. So we should all keep an eye open for that. Unfortunately, I cannot adopt your cat because my husband has allergies. We used to have a cat, but I can't have one cat in the house anymore. Okay, so Alina, your next question.
Yeah. What is one piece of advice you guys can give us so we can be where you guys are in a few years from now?
So now we come to advice.
Don't aspire to be where we are in our life. I know that's not a real answer, but I think Sonia said it really well a while back. Find out what success means to you. Find out what success means to you. Find out what you want to do in your personal life and be working towards that. I'm happy with where I am in my life, but I'm also working on some things. And for me, financial literacy, home ownership is a big part of that. That's something that I'm trying to do this year, is have property, do real estate, stuff like that. So, definitely don't look at your career as like the, be all of of having goals and having ambition. You can find it in a lot of other ways in your life. And, you know, definitely see where you want to be in your life. When I say personally, that doesn't have to mean getting married and have kids. Like, question if that's something you really want when society's telling you you have to have it. So yeah, and I say, one thing I always say is like, find, you know, try to have fun. It's so
True.
important to have
Yes.
fun.
Yes.
I got, you know, this is super specific, but you know, I'm a huge BTS K-pop fan, and like I make it like, you know, my mission that when I have some money saved, I go to a concert, and you know, I have a lot of fun, and that gives me something to look forward to. Always have something that you can look forward to.
True. That is, find your passion, find who you are, what's happiness for you, what gives you happiness. And please, I'll say it again and again. I've heard this from a lot of people, young girls who will say, yeah, another person will give me happiness. So it's not another person, it's not another job, it's not money, it's you yourself who will find happiness. And you have to figure that out. No one else can figure that out for you.
Yeah.
Sanya, what do you have to add?
So I'll share like a story. I think back in 2016, I was running a $1 million business. And then on top of that, I had started a side business, which hit $100,000 in revenue. I had been featured in Forbes and Entrepreneur and Inc. and Huffington Post and all these different places. I had a whole ton of social media followers, and I achieved my biggest dream that year, which was to publish a book. So all of that sounds really great, but that was one of the worst years of my life, like emotionally, because I hit this point where I had climbed my Mount Everest and I realized it didn't mean anything to me. And that was one of the most eye-awakening experiences in my entire life, was that all this time I had this destination in mind. And once I got to the destination, I felt empty. And so after that experience, I went on a year-long journey of understanding the science of happiness. And so what I did is I actually read different books by different scholars on happiness. So I think there's like The Art of Happiness, and then there's a course through Yale that you can take, which I would highly recommend. I think it's Yale. And I was listening and learning, okay, so what does it actually take to be happy? And they said that it was actually really interesting, because it said that about 50% of it is genetics. So you're predisposed to be a certain level of optimistic or pessimistic or happy. And I was like, shit, I'm screwed there, because, you know, I do deal with mental health issues. But then another 40% is that's what's in your control. And then 10% of it is all situational, environmental. So that would be like, are you married? Do you have kids? What is your income, XYZ? And so I was like, really? My entire life only accounts for 10% of my happiness? That was one of the most life-changing statistics I've ever come across in my entire life. So all these things that we work for, become a doctor, get married, blah, 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 that's 10%. And even when tragedy strikes, let's say something really bad happens or something really good happens, let's say you buy a house and you've been working towards it, or you have a loss of a family member, statistically, after 6 months, you're either going to experience like a high or a low, but after 6 months, you're going to level out to your baseline. So we all have a baseline of happiness. So what are things that actually improve your baseline? And one thing you'll see me doing here is I'm changing your word. You asked me how can I be successful? I'm changing that to be how can you be happy? Because that's way more important than success. And so the way you can increase your baseline, like actual things that you can do to increase your baseline of happiness, is you can have deeper relationships with people. You can do more charity work, because the more good you do for people, the more good you're going to feel. You can find hobbies. You can also meditate. Meditation has really exploded people's level of happiness. And exercise is actually one to increase baseline of happiness too. So long story short, don't worry about how you can be as successful as us, worry about how you can be happy. And that's one of the ways I went about doing it, is I studied happiness for an entire year. and made it my only goal for 2017 was I want to be happy. And I'm very, very happy now.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I think you put it very comprehensively, saying that, you know, we shouldn't be thinking about success, but it's more to do with your happiness. If you are happy with what you're doing, and if you're measuring yourself in terms of success, no matter even if you reach your Mount Everest and you're not happy, that doesn't count, right? So
I would
anybody
say that, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
go ahead.
interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I
Add.
was gonna say, if I could shout like one thing from the rooftops, it would be like to like, please get therapy. You don't have to be diagnosed with a, you know, mental illness to get help for anything. One advice that came from my therapist, I went to therapy for 3 years, and now I just do like 6-week check-ins since the pandemic, because it's just a hard time for everyone. And something that she said is that happiness and sadness are normal for everyone. It goes up and down, and your goal should try to be content. Like seek, you know, strive for contentment rather than, you know, feeling like you're failing because you're not happy all the time.
True, true. Anybody else would like to chime in on that? Someone, what do you say?
Yeah, I think for me, something that I've always struggled with is understanding what success means. And success is different for everyone, whether that be being successful in your career, being successful in making friends, or being successful in just like being content with your life. It's different for everyone. And that's something I've always struggled with, trying to find what success means for me. And I've recently, in the past couple of years, realized, like what Sanya was saying, was that for me, success is just finding happiness and like finding what really makes me feel good and working towards that and doing everything in my power to ensure my happiness and making myself feel proud of who I am and the actions that I'm taking. So that's kind of how I find success, is just doing everything I can to make myself feel proud of who I am as a person and of what I'm doing.
Awesome. Nimra, what do you say?
Well, you know, I really appreciate all that has been said about, you know, being able to like not allowing your work to take up too much importance in your life. And I think one thing I really try to practice a lot nowadays is just being very grateful for what I have. And, you know, I think sometimes I tend to be so demanding of myself that I need to finish this degree and I need to get this job. But I also try to be proud of the fact that I've made it far and I've done well, and I'm really grateful for the support that I've had. So I think I do take a moment to step back and think, all right, you know, we have a long way to go. There's no doubt about that, but also to really acknowledge the progress I've made and take pride in that, because, you know, sometimes I think that it's important to remind yourself of your past achievements too, and it kind of motivates you to keep going.
Awesome. Yes, it's very important to be grateful and acknowledge how far you have achieved. Give credit to yourself. So what do you say, Rabia?
I think it's so important to have these conversations and just be so open about these kind of things. Like what Sanya was saying, that like she was sharing that statistic, and that was kind of eye-opening to me, that only like 10% of your happiness is stuff that you have control over. Like you kind of live life trying to accomplish certain and reach certain benchmarks, like getting married and having kids and getting this job and having this many friends. And it's so important to like understand that happiness is so much more abstract, and it's something, it's like a journey. It's something that you actively have to kind of work towards. And even Faranti was saying that there is a stigma to like therapy, and I think that's so true. Like it's so important to kind of have like these conversations and be open about it, that people do need therapy and people should be like more open to have these conversations.
True. And you know, and I'm so thankful to Sanya, because she puts herself out there. Like she says that, okay, I have this and I have studied it and I am going to you know, work with that, because you're saying that you have this disorder, that you're going to work it, and you put it out there. You don't think of it as a stigma, and that's where we all should be heading. And as Mahi is saying, get help. So Alina, what do you say? You have something to add to this?
Yeah, I agree with everyone. Like Nimra, I also can often be really hard on myself. I like start worrying about like maybe I'm not doing enough right now, or like worrying about the future, and how things will end up then. But like thankfully I have a pretty good support system, like with my family and my friends that are always reminding me like, you're doing fine, it'll be okay, inshallah, like everything will work out for the best. Yeah, and all of your guys' advice has been really helpful, because like this is also something I struggle with a lot.
Well, thank you so much. So I think if I'm looking at my time, we have gone 5 minutes past our time. So I think I am going to conclude right now. And in order for me to do that, first, thank you so much for everybody who logged in, to my participants of the roundtable talk, for being so candid, because we need more of these conversations, and bring these things out and open, because I can see as we are talking, people can actually tag on each other and say, yes, I feel that way. I am not alone. I can connect to you. I have been that road, because that's what we need to know. If we are not talking to anybody, we think that we are the only one who are messed up. No, everybody has, skeletons in the closet. So we need to work with whatever issues we have, reflect, meditate, and kind of redefine what success is for us, what happiness is for us, and not compete with each other and say, oh, if that person is doing that, I need to do that. Or what we deal in our culture, log kya kahenge. We don't have to worry about what people will think or say, what my other friends will say, but what is best for me, and I am the person who's going to be the judge of that. So happy International Day to all of you. You guys are amazing. I'm sorry to the audience that we didn't have time to take any questions, because we promised everybody 1 hour of candid conversation. And thank you so much for pouring your heart out into this conversation. And you guys have a great rest of the evening, and enjoy your day tomorrow. Celebrate your success, recognize your success. And I am so, so very proud of you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Office.
Hafiz.